2020, begin at 4:13.
Wonderful.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. A little closer quarters today, so happy Valentine's Day, ladies. We last left off, you guys were going to kind of take charge a little bit with this meeting, I think, with an agenda, and then you were going to provide a list. So I'll let you guys take the floor.
Okay. We've been at this for over a year. We've discussed many issues and have come to an agreement on a few. It becomes imperative that we wrap this year's contract up so we can move on to the open book period of next year. Many of the issues can be probably postponed until the open book, but we still have 4 major issues, and then Kathy will get into some others. The issues of pay, planning, substitutes, evening meetings, and we've yet to hear your major issues. We realize the position in the county is in with finances, but we've worked in good faith to address financial issues. So, some of our questions, and then I can get into some other areas. You said that you were going to be able to provide a list of administrative positions that have been cut.
No, let's back up for a second, because I feel like I'm missing something here. Last time, at last bargaining session, we talked for a few minutes, and then you guys called caucus, and we remained in caucus until the final 5 minutes or so. We came back in, and you guys expressed to us that you were disappointed with a no offer for compensation, for pay for performance, for this contract, and said that you needed a few weeks to step away from the table, and you guys were going to come together as a group, and you were going to, that you guys did not believe that there was not areas that could provide compensation, and a lot of those discussions have been informal, and you're going to come back with a list to present to us of areas, a formalized list, that with areas that we could focus on with compensation, and then provide you guys with a response after we had time to take back you guys' detailed list of areas and come back and provide you with feedback.
Okay. What is the specific amount of lapsed salaries year to date? What is the actual savings from our health insurance redesign? What have been the savings of the prescription drug redesign? What do you see the amount of the BSA increase that is reoccurring? The amount of the BSA increase that Scott's letter said was used for additional instructional staff to meet class size requirements. How much was used for that? Then there's other issues like our maximizing income areas, like Medicaid. How much do we make from the charter schools paying us back? How much of the safety security mill increase could be eligible for instructional if applied, i.e. the mental health training that staff had to do for one day and then provide training the next day. Kathy, you had some additional questions, I believe.
I have the data from the teachers.
Well, that's something. These are the questions that we came up with. And then we are also, we would like to see a guarantee of 5 planning periods per week. We'd like to see substitute teachers either being provided or compensation to a teacher to cover a class or absorb a class. no evening activities unless compensated. And then if there's no pay proposal, and the law requires that pay proposals are tied to teacher evaluations, does that mean we're suspending performance pay or performance evaluations? Just questions.
You want me to answer the last one? No.
You can
that's
start at the top of the
ridiculous.
list.
Where you know we're not gonna suspend evaluations, those are required by law. Are the evaluations tied to pay for performance? Absolutely. But I think we all know that we're not gonna stop doing teacher evaluations, we're required to meet those statutes. I think as I look down your list, I'd have to agree with Mr. Montori from last time, who said we probably discussed the majority of these issues and given feedback either at the table or away from the table, and you guys inquiring with the CFO. So what I'd like to do is formalize a document for you guys and provide rationale in each one of the areas and any data that you're requesting from a monetary standpoint. I think we have come to some agreements on different things within our discussions. Most of I think most of anything we've discussed has been in Article 10, and I'm not exactly sure we've come to a whole lot of agreement on any of those areas. But when you ask kind of where our focus was, I think that's where our focus lies. And I think we both had similar interests in Article 10, but we went eye to eye on a lot of those. What other questions were in there other than the list? I'm sorry. Because I was listening to the list, and then the last one sounded like a question on the evaluation. But what
Yeah, that's the
other
very
questions?
last line on that paper.
I get that. But was there another question that was with this? Or were these just all topics you want to address?
Well, they're all questions. How much is the lapsed salaries year to date?
That's what I'm saying, all of anything that's not like monetary data that I need to bring back. Is there anything on here other than that?
I know we've talked about the Medicaid billing before, but we really don't have like a total answer whether if everybody is billing yet or not. The reimbursements for charter school cafeterias.
I'll probably say if you want some of the most extensive feedback on it, go back and look for board agendas where those types of things like the fee schedule and workshops where they've been discussed, and you can get an all-encompassing picture of what we provide to them, because
on a lot of those, they're not covered when there's a regular school board meeting. We've already done this one, this one, this one, and this one, but we don't know what they said in this one, this one, this one, and this one.
I don't know what you mean.
They don't really give a total number, like what I was saying, what's happened to all of it. I mean, those reimbursements, whether if a charter school has reimbursed the school, $1,000 for whatever. So what happens to that money, where's the money going? And what's the total amounts that, we've got 4 charters, I guess, doing that, I'm assuming. So that total number could be several $1,000s. I mean, just asking, okay, again, as you say, a small pot of money, but when you put several of these small pots together, you've got some money here that, not saying maybe a big raise, but you could pay for some substituting or pay for some of the trainings that they had to just go through from mental health just because, when they sat and they did it and that was it. So, I mean.
Before we leave the charters, basically, charters, as we all know, pretty well protected. And any services that we're either required to provide for them or that we provide for a fee, essentially we're not allowed to make revenue off of them. And it's just like when there's a FTE flow through to them, there's a certain percentage which is small, that is held back for administrative services that aren't even related to the fee services that they've selected from their menu. So, you know, I, for the sake of not wasting a whole bunch of time, I would probably say go back and look at some of those workshops. I can bring people in here to discuss that at bargaining, but I don't probably feel like this is the appropriate place to
I
do
just
it.
wondered where I could get more of that information, that's all.
So it is money that is offsetting actual costs within the school system. So it's an income offsetting some other costs. So that means there's other funds that would be theoretically available.
No, these are us servicing a school that's essentially either quasi-hours of their conversion or not hours, that's charter, that we're required by law to provide their services for. It doesn't.
No, but what I'm saying is, for example, let's say Michelle's time is, I'm just going to use this as an example, $40 an hour. And so that's showing up on my Fund 100. The charter school is now paying fee for service for Michelle for 2 or 3 hours. So they're paying $80. So now that gives me $80 in Fund 100 that theoretically is now available for other things. Because we're not paying her twice.
I'll get data for you guys that shows some figures of the money that comes in for charter and from charters to pay for our fees for services. And I can't speak to it because we're not making a profit off of charters, I can tell you that. It's not
No, I know you
leftover
can't
money
make
to
profit, but
spend
it
other
does
places.
offset our actual costs.
Actually, it probably causes more work for people out of the non-instructional unit that are in finance and HR, and then what they've actually, their plate's falling over just like everybody else's to cover charters. It's not like, you know, we're offsetting those costs, we're just taking on more work for the charters. But I can get you some charter data. Let me work on that and see what will be valuable and meaningful to you, and I can get that back. Medicaid, we can definitely look at Medicaid. We've had some discussion over that. I doubt we probably need to spend all our time discussing that in here. I can speak Medicaid a little bit, but I don't think until let me get numbers in front of you, and then we can talk more about it. Otherwise, we'll probably
I've
get
gotten some
circular
numbers
conversation.
from Scott, and it shows that some departments are maximizing and others aren't. But we need to take advantage of every bit of income that we can.
And I believe we are. And that's what I'm saying. We can get into the Medicaid conversation again, but I feel like I'm going to be repeating. If you want to see my perspective on Medicaid, you can go back and look at the last meeting, because that was where we discussed it, and we discussed it in the past. You know, so I would rather have numbers in front of us to discuss Medicaid. We can look at, as far as some of the other points I can bring back that you guys have here. We can definitely look at our lapse salaries compared to what was budgeted for lapse. We can definitely look at our health insurance redesign. The redesign hasn't been in play for that long, seeing as how the changes from open enrollment have just kicked in not too long ago. So I'm not exactly sure what we'll see from that, but we can definitely provide some health insurance information.
Well,
I know we've also got an upcoming workshop where there's an audit performed by the district or the board auditor. So he's going to present on that. I've only seen some light preliminary stuff from it. I haven't been able to dive into it elbows deep yet, but it'll be, I believe it's the next workshop. And it looks at the cost effectiveness of care here and some of the things that we've discussed that you guys are part of at the insurance committee. The prescription drugs redesign, as it stated, a lot of those were based on rebates and different things, so I can't really speak to that. We have to get Josh and some folks that are including our insurance committee, to come back and talk about what prescription drugs have done and how that's reacted with those changes. The BSA increase, and that absolutely include. Go
Let
ahead.
me go back with the insurance, because I think where that comes from is that the insurance redesign, which resulted in staff having higher co-pays and different things, was to offset the monies that were needed for the contingency funds. And yet, one of the letters or one of the things I've heard was using the BSA to pay into the insurance contingency funds. And the prescription drug redesign, I think they were told that would result in a savings of $7 million.
Over time.
And that money was going to be used for the insurance contingency fund. So now we've got three different things going into the funding that. And the anticipation was that we would phase in the money that needed to be there over a course of 3 to 4 years.
I think you do. The insurance fund is multifaceted. I think you've got, like I said, the redesign, you got back up a little further to where basically for the past however many years, I will just say 3 to 4 that I've seen, it's been anywhere from 2 to 3, almost $4 million that at the end of the year, the district would have to kick in to make the self-insured insurance fund whole at the end of the year. So it wasn't being funded properly to keep up for what was budgeted for the whole year. So we had that happening every year, and that, as we know, that among other things, ate away at the general fund balance. So we had to make some adjustments there. The board contribution had to go up. We had to do some plan redesign for the future. The prescription redesign, same thing. A lot of those projected really is to offset some of the increasing costs that are going to come to us with insurance naturally every single year anyway. So I think it's real easy to have kind of a light conversation about it, but that's something that we're going to have to discuss pretty deep and lay some data and some numbers out in front of you. And keep in mind, I mean, we have that's one of the successful high points of something we've had this year is that we have been able to come to no increase on insurance. Have we had plan adjustment? Yeah, we had some plan adjustment. Was it monumental plan adjustment? I don't believe it was. I think if you look across if people were able to get cheaper insurance than what they are on our plans here in the district, I think they'd be getting it. And I get it. We're trying to keep that fund healthy, and we're trying to keep it as a benefit to all of our employees. So I think you have to be very careful if you're taking money that, that if you do, or if you are able to build surplus up in your self-insurance, to shovel it out of your insurance and provide recurring raises with it. Even if we could do that, I would caution against that. I've seen that not be well in districts, so.
You're right. But I'm looking at, we designed this to have the money through the insurance to pay for the contingencies and whatnot. But now we're using the BSA increase to do the same thing. And I guess that's my point.
I think the BSA covers, a lot of different costs. I think it has chipped in to help with the insurance, but it's not, BSA increases are used for essentially general fund unrestricted expenditures, which salary increases would be one of those, but there's a lot of other ones that we have to take care of to make sure that the ship stays afloat. So, where some people might have had a healthier fund balance and could use those funds to cover increasing costs and then provide a salary increase. We're not in that position in this district. So, I can provide greater explanation on last year's BSA increase at our next session. It will be part of our discussion.
Yeah, that's one of those. There have been several different explanations as to what that BSA was used for. One was to the increase in staff necessary to meet class size. Part of it was to go into, it's been explained to go into our fund balance. It's also been explained to pay the school board back for paying insurance. So we've heard 3 or 4 different explanations. And so I'm just trying to get clear where it actually is being used for.
Well, I think those aren't 3 or 4 different explanations. Those are probably 3 or 4 places that free general fund dollars were directed.
Which is
As far as saying this dollar goes here, I mean, those are a list of expenditures that have to be met, and if they're increasing, we have to use our increased unrestricted dollars to pay for our increased necessary expenditures. So I think all of those probably check all of those boxes. So if you need more data on that, definitely get you more data.
I have other questions, Stuart, but it's on these
Go
paper.
ahead.
I mean, I don't know whether you want me to, I don't have enough for everybody. So,
Okay, we go.
I mean, I don't really want to pass them out. and
Well,
give
give one to Chad and give one to me.
Want me to make copies, Kathy?
to those, I mean,
That would be
everybody,
great.
if everyone wants one, I mean. I
She'll
don't
make
know,
copies.
20,
It's front and back.
this front and back, is there like 20 of them? Basically, I just thought about reading it all so that it's on record, basically,
Okay.
because the first page is basically just a statement.
Okay.
So you guys will get them. I also decided to do it more on what the principals and the teachers and everybody are saying that they have to do with the read, write, think, and talk, and your what are we learning and why are we learning it and how will we know we learned it. So what are we learning? We're supposed to be doing how to work together to assist our teachers and students. We're supposed to be impact bargaining. Why are we learning this? To protect the students and assist the Lake County teachers. How will we know you've learned this? When the impact bargaining has reached a consensus to assist the teachers and students of Lake County. Lake County School Board has taken money out of teachers' pockets and or saved money by eliminated teacher positions and LIFT program to use for part of the 18-19 raise. Restructured health insurance to put money into the 60-day reserve. Employee pays more deductible now, plus 20%. Changed the pharmacy provider and saved. Pharmaceuticals were free from Care Here, and now employees will now have to start paying for them. Decreased critical shortage money from $1,000 to $750. Live stream services and millage for Lake Success and past teachers. Lake County Education Association has asked about budget numbers. Questions have been, what happened to the $75 increase in BSA? Answer was, health insurance 60-day fund reserve. And as Stuart just stated, it was also said to us that they needed it for other also. Does each department need all their budgeted money? Mr. Ward's presentation to the school board after the information was presented. Why do we have so many upper management positions? Not too many, like other similar counties, was the answer. What has happened to the carryover money? We don't have an answer for that yet. Where's the lapsed salary money?
What
We don't have
carryover
money.
money were you talking about?
Carryover money from like last year for the departments
Year
and for
to
different
year.
things, from year to year, carryover.
Okay.
LCEA further asks, how much money has Medicaid billing brought to the county? How is it being spent? Is LCSB, Lake County, billing for all Medicaid services? If not, why? What is happening with the reimbursements from the charter schools and cafeteria building funds, which we talked about a little bit? What has happened or will happen with the money from selling the land parcels 8, 9, 10, 11, and 19, which have been on the board docs? and some of them are quite a nice number.
One of them.
What would be the cost if every eligible teacher quit and was rehired? Why is Lake County not retaining teachers? What is the cost of turnover? And I do have that information also on here. And actually, so far, it has cost the county over $1 million.
And where do you derive
There's
that figure
there's
from?
a link that you can go and you can fill in, and I filled in the 125 teachers that have resigned this year.
I sent you that link.
I saw that, but it
And
was
it's
also set
it's
to
a
rural
link.
districts that hiked the number up too.
And
Did you shift
I
it
did
to-
two different ones. I did
Okay.
the lowest one, the rural one, and I also did the suburban, meaning kind of a little bit of both. I didn't go to the extensive one.
Did you
I
go
didn't go to
back,
extensive
did y'all
one.
go back and dig into the studies that were behind a lot of the stuff that was on that site?
In fact, several of them were done with school systems in Florida.
There were two that talked about two school systems in Florida, one that was small and one that was much larger.
And I just added
It was- I
in,
think it was from 2006.
I just added in that Lake County, they've appointed over 500 new teachers with over 125 resignations so far this year. Do we need as many people in every department? Professional increased 38.1% from 2016 to 19. Non-bargaining was 18.2%, while instructional was 1.7%.
Come back, repeat that last batch for me again? This,
Yes,
It's in
it's on
the
there.
parentheses under right there.
okay.
What are the administrative positions which have been cut? Administrative positions increased 4.8%. Where does it stipulate in state statute that Lake County needed to hire 53 new mental health personnel? That's the liaisons in every school and the 6 mental health specialists. Do they all have degrees in their field? LCEA has stated for several years that Lake County School Board cannot rely on Tallahassee to help Lake County with their budget woes. Furthermore, Lake County cannot continue to blame Tallahassee or anyone else for their continued lack of consideration for their instructional staff. The school board has decided teachers do not need a raise again, twice now in 3 years. Over a 25-year span, that could be a monetary loss of over $50,000.
Explain that to me. Help me out and understand, just so I know where.
Over a 25-year span, if they don't get $1,000, or if someone doesn't get their big raise, or if someone didn't get, it just keeps adding every year that you're not getting something.
Okay.
So depending on what, and
And it
again,
also
it
affects
depends. It
your
also depends on where they are. They could only be losing, $8,000, not $50,000, but it could be, for some people, it could be a very huge monetary loss.
So it doesn't roll over
Um,
every year.
LCEA has continually asked Lake County School Board to make teachers and staff a priority. So, when can LCEA truly work with Lake County School Board to make teachers a priority and put teacher compensation increases first in Lake County School Board budget? The bargaining proposal reads, read the data provided by teachers, and I do have the data which I can provide for you. Write suggestions that will help teachers and students. Write down your response to this information. Think about teachers who instruct Lake County students. Is this a destination district for those teachers? Talk with your teachers and listen to what they are saying with no repercussions. Data from the schools, and this is just a quick thing. Now I do have them in, and I can pass that around pretty quick, yeah. And I have enough for everybody for that. Learning walks, 20 out of 25 schools said 80% of them said it was a problem. Intervention time, 19 out of 22, 86% was basically not effective. That's a mistake there. Collaborative planning, 15 out of 20, 75% ineffective, especially when administration is present. Plan times, 16 out of 26, 61.5%, usually do not have 4 plan times each week. Leadership teams, which we talked about before in bargaining, 18 out of 22, 72% they're not involved in any type of leadership meetings as stated in the contract. Pass and discipline, 12 out of 13, said 92% then said that it's not working somehow. Student discipline is very, very bad right now.
Can I ask
Furthermore, teachers have lost your respect, continue to ask more and more but give nothing in return. Autonomy, just let teachers teach and provide assistance when asked. Voice, ask teachers for their ideas and opinions and listen to what they are saying. Support, 125 resignations and counting. Why? What is wrong? Money, Not all about money, need working conditions, less on teachers' plate. LCEA's language proposals for Lake County School Board, since no money is on the table. Compensation for any substituting, including splitting students into other classrooms. Collaborative plan will be at the discretion of teachers and will be without administrative presence. Teachers will be given their daily plan time, 5 per week. Learning walks, instructional reviews, or any other type of data collection will cease. Any information being required to be on the board, any type of CBC, will cease. Night events will not be required until compensation is provided. LCEA and Lake County School Board will work together to stop retaliation of any kind, retain and mentor teachers, 22.2% turnover in 2018 and 19 school year. Change exit interview questionnaire and procedures, change administrative survey questionnaire and needs to be anonymous. The data is in two forms. What I did is I developed a spreadsheet that shows you how many of the school names are not on there. They have been taken off. This just shows you that I do have the data.
Which data?
From the LCE data from schools. And then this one, and then that's the spreadsheet. This one is a two-sided with some of the comments that all I did was cut and paste comments from some of them, some of the teachers, and that gave us information. So I have both of those.
And then,
I
you
guess-
said that
Go ahead.
one of the things that we were looking at is restructuring and perhaps some saving. So I went back and looked at these staff registries and I passed that data out. Basically, the original, or the bottom, the middle, is the percentage increases of instructional staff from 2016 to present, and it was a 1.72% increase.
Stuart, I'm a little lost, but what are we talking about and what are we referring to right now? We're
I'm
kind
just
of, I feel like
giving
we're
you,
all over.
okay, never mind.
No, never mind, help me out.
Okay,
I'm
this is looking at the staff registry that breaks down the classifications of employees. Diane, or the superintendent at the last board member meeting, and Scott Ward has said we've had to increase staff, but as you can see, we've only increased the instructional staff 1.72% over the last 4 years. Students have increased 5.5%. We've increased in classified staff over that period 1.6%. We've increased non-instructional, non-bargaining staff 18% over that 2016 through 19 period. Professional staff, we've increased 38%, and administrative staff, we've increased 4.8%. So students have increased 5.5%. The data that Scott said we had to use money to pay for our increase in instructional staff, yet that's been minimal. And so this kind of shows you where the priorities are, where we've seen increases, and where the increases might be out of line with the rest of the school system. Which would help as you all are looking at future redesigns to save money. So we've got a lot of data here.
Yeah, and you sure do. I got a few questions. First, on the LCEA data from schools, was this can you explain a little bit about the method of collection of the data and kind of the source of it? And I see a lot of numbers, but I need a little additional comments around validity.
At the top of this one, it says 40 schools, including Lake Hills and Lake Success, and 29 out of 40 schools responded.
Okay, I get that, but to members or to all teachers?
Well, we only have access to our members.
Okay,
But-
so that I'd like to say that probably skews your data a little bit, right?
Not necessarily.
It's over 51% of the teachers in Lake County.
So half,
You're talking-
so we'll say half, can we call it half? Half the teachers were surveyed, all of which were you guys members.
I'll gladly survey all of them. You send me their emails, I'll gladly survey them all.
And statistically, anything over 10% is valid, so.
So, but 100% of the people that you surveyed were your members. That's all I'm saying. So,
Well, wait a minute,
Dude.
is that supposed to be a bad thing?
no, I don't think that's a bad thing to find out what your members are thinking. I don't think it's a true
But we
representation.
represent
of-
everyone at our school, not just our members.
I'm not sure that, I get by law, you do, this contract represents them, but what I'm saying is, I don't think this takes the full instructional perspective into account. But I have that lens on,
I will say
so
that,
I get that.
I'll say that I think it takes as good as a survey as our county surveys do with our administration, since many of the teachers, it gets to everybody, but many of the teachers don't respond because they believe that the information is either going to be used against them or it's not anonymous. So I believe that if you want to go side for side, that it's just as accurate as that.
Jamie?
And as
I would
possibly
just-
as accurate as your exit surveys.
Just for numbers for me, I would want to say, like, how many teachers were surveyed? Was it 1,000 out of 2,000? Okay, that's 50% to me. Or was it 100 out of 2,000?
And how many of those responded?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, not to survey. How many are the responses would be my
Number of
question.
teachers rather than number of schools.
Yes.
Right.
Can y'all provide some of that?
Well, we have almost 1,700 members and it was sent out to all of them.
But I'm just being honest with you, I have a lens that this data is not valid. And do I understand the point that you're trying to make from this data? Absolutely. But I can't, but I think, I see where your points are in it. And some of the points I feel are valid and some I don't. So I get what you're trying to say there. And you guys have come in with a whole bunch of data. I think that points in your direction and favors you. But I'll do my best to respond to some of that and bring back some of the data that we can provide from the district. And I disagree with some of this, that I feel like there's been things that have been done in these areas, a lot of the ones that you mentioned, and it's a misrepresentation of the true relationship that exists out in our schools between all of the people that are working in our schools. Am I crazy enough to think 100% of our people are happy and things are great? No. I understand the layers of stress that are on every individual in the school system. But packaged in this way, I feel like puts a real negative tone to what's going on and does not accurately reflect what's happening in our schools.
Okay, so what
Nor
is?
the relationship that we have and the lines of communication are out there.
So
And
what has been done then?
what has been done, what?
You said there have been things that have been done that address some of this, so?
Well, I think, like, just, if you look at retaliation, where do you see retaliation? That sounds like union speak to me. That doesn't sound like something that you're providing evidence of retaliation. It's easy to say, I'm not gonna speak to anyone because I fear I will be retaliated against. I could say that. But at what point,
And respectfully, we hear that a lot.
Okay.
Because we ask teachers, what would you like us to do? Do you want us to contact Chad? Would you like us to contact the county? Would you like us to contact your administrator? Would you like us to, we ask all these questions, And you know what, most of them, they'll say no, because I need my job, and I don't want retaliation, I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't
wouldn't
want.
want retaliation, I would want truth. I mean, it's just like today.
Oh, I do too, but they're afraid
But
that they're not
but
gonna have that job.
But you're only gonna get one side of the story. So I mean, I had to bring in, today, a teacher and the kids, because they really wanted to hear, they wanted their voices heard. You said, speak up. And at this point, they didn't care about it. They cared about their grade and their education. And there was another side to the story. So I had to listen to the other side of the story, because I had to listen to what they had to say. If I took it on what one person said, then, and the only way that you're gonna get it, everybody has to come to the table. And we can't say that we don't wanna talk about something, or we don't wanna be, but that's the only time it's gonna be, because the same stuff goes on and on. That's just the way I.
Well, here's the
Stuff
long and
goes on
short of it,
and on.
Ms. Shepherd.
On our end.
What happened is the superintendent came to our meeting, our board meeting, our school board, our union meeting, a building rep meeting, and it was packed. And she asked specific questions, and the teachers gave her the honest truth. It was supposed to be confidential information, because we're in our own little hub there, and no one's supposed to be sending it out to the news media, because we just don't do that. But anyway, what happened is those teachers that responded in a way that the superintendent did not like, their administrator was contacted. Now that is not fair, because we're trying to build a bridge with Diane and you guys, but you can't go whack the teacher because they're being honest.
If you dig deeper into that issue, is it probably a little wider than that? Like, your people left that meeting and took social media and did some things that...
I didn't leave the meeting
No,
and do
that
anything.
happens. I think you might be misinformed.
I did
So
something.
no.
Now, to you personally, that was a collective.
I
So
didn't do
what I'm
anything.
saying is, I think the superintendent treated that meeting before and after extremely respectfully. And I'm not sure that was reciprocated by you guys members and some of the folks that were in attendance in that room. So that I guess that's my perspective on it. But guys, at the end of the day, I get you want some relief within the classroom walls. I want to look for some areas where we can provide some relief within those classroom walls. If I'm reading that message in here.
Sure. That's
You
right.
won't increase compensation. I don't have any additional compensation to offer this year. You have some areas you'd like me to look into and provide some explanation. I plan to come back with some explanation and rationale. But to totally, I get it, we're supposed to fuss and bargain and go back and forth in this room. I fully get that. But I think everyone seated in this room is smart enough to know, what's really at stake. A little relief in the classroom, a little more money in your pocket. And your district, your board, your superintendent, they're committed to those things, and there's no money to tuck away and hold back from people. There's all that we want to do with learning walks and collaborative planning is provide a better product to our kids, but shutting ourselves in our classrooms and saying I'm only planning by myself, and I don't even think that's the true desire of the teachers that are out there. I think there's teachers out there that enjoy their collaborative planning.
And teachers are willing to collaborate with their teams. From what we are hearing, most of them are willing to do that, especially your elementary level, they love collaborating.
We love it.
Yeah.
We really love it.
But
what happens when?
many of them have said on the other side, that's fine and we love doing that. But we need to do it without the administrator sitting there and telling us, you need to do this, this, and this.
And then sometimes on the other side of that, I'm gonna tell you what we
Been
get.
invited
On the
to
other
work with
side of
somebody else
that,
with some of our
then
teachers.
sometimes the team members will just call and say, hey, can you please come up here because we're getting off track? Or can you make sure that you're at the next one
And if
because
they
we're
request
getting
it, no
off the track.
problem.
So, you come up, I had one on Wednesday. It was geometry. They came
No
up, hey,
problem.
can you find her, bring her up here? I go up there and hang out and talk and get whatever answer. But as long as they are structured and staying on task of what I've asked them to do and give me something at the end of their
That's
game
what it
plan
should
of what
be.
they're going to do, guess what? I don't.
And that's what it should be. But we have other ones that literally say, and they, basically, they are there and they take over and they're saying, well, you need to do this, this, and this. And that's not what a collaborative plan is supposed to be about. The teachers are supposed to be able to follow their.
I've had situations
I
where I've
mean-
been requested by a department chair,
And
but somebody else in the room doesn't want an administrator in there. You might, I mean, I
And there
can't
could be
splitting
that
hairs.
too, and I'm not saying that,
Right.
but it shouldn't be something that an administrator comes in there and says all the time that you need to do this, this, and
I
this.
just don't think that's happening.
I don't either, and because when I go to a meeting, if they call me
In
to
our
a meeting,
setting
it's
here.
more to find out, what do you need from me to help you? You're the expert, but let me help you if I can. What do you need to be successful in this meeting? And a lot of times the teachers just want to hear me say, I'm vested in what they're doing. I mean, so I don't find it that we're going to meetings and uninvited and stuff like that, because we're not doing it. Hell, I'm buying cookies and cakes and trying to keep everybody settled.
Yeah.
Eat something, work hard, and do what you gotta do. You're the experts.
So if you're going to a meeting, are you telling them when you come in that you've been invited by a member? Not that you have to say who that.
The department chair will say, hey, I've asked the administration to come.
Okay, then I'm betting that's
department
not
chair's
the
leadership.
people, right?
Yeah.
I'm,
That's
those aren't the
I can
people
use,
that
today we
are
did
voicing concerns.
a half-day PLC training where I got subs for the teachers. I paid for that out of my budget. And so I had them, please put your pros and cons of this, leave that. And they said they enjoyed having me there because there was a clear vision and statement and they liked the support. And that was, I didn't ask them that question specifically, they gave that feedback. So again, kind of, we can look at that data and say, this school is there that way, and so this school must be, you know what I mean? So I think you gotta look at those things individually and address those individually.
I also think you need to think too, is that when you think about all the schools that we have and the principals that are here in this room, that you may not be the ones that are the issue, and you aren't necessarily indicative of some of the other issues. And I can venture to say that because I know several of you, and several of you, you're very supportive. You don't do that. But as you're talking about a sampling, this is not your typical sampling of all of your administration as well.
I think I have fine administrators in this room, but I feel like they represent the majority of quality with the administrators across our district.
We work closely with our administrators.
Yes.
In our team, and so we know how each other thinks, and we know how each other, we're building a common vision. If there is a bad egg here or there, that's something for Chad and his department to deal with, but I don't think you write contract language to address an issue that's happening in 1 or 2 or 3 schools. That's something that needs to be addressed through his department. I think our contract becomes a Chicago phone book if we continue that.
I feel like if the administrators in the building, they're not just an administrator. They are charged to be the instructional leaders in their schools and to lead the instructional purpose and vision and provide support to teachers in their schools. That's their mission and overall goal. What is the problem, invited or uninvited, if someone who has likely proven to be a high-quality instructor in the classroom and excelled to be an instructional leader in the building, participating as an educational expert in discussions around the lessons that are being taught to students, if those lessons are not in alignment, perhaps they are telling them what should be done or what needs to change. But if they are in alignment, either providing feedback or not. I don't see why educators in the buildings have to be us and them. And especially if it's collaborative planning and things that are going on that are going to improve lessons and benefit students. And I feel like the direction and the vision for instruction that's being supported by both instructional and administrative staff in this district is headed on a positive trajectory in the right direction. But to stall that out because we don't have money for compensation, essentially, I think is foolish and it's shortchanging our kids. So I want to continue to try and provide compensation, whether it's this year, last year, or next year, whenever I can. But I don't feel like we need to totally trash everything out that's going on in the district. And your administrators, I went, after we left our last session, I went and spent time and did the learning walks and checked it out because I wanted to see what was going on. And the teachers that their classrooms were visited, they volunteered to have people visit. They were absolutely not, there was one second where it impeded learning in the classroom or there was a sense of heightened anxiety in the classroom. And I took back some of the details you guys have told me, and I've discussed this with Dr. Weisskopf. Okay, we need, asking questions, okay, what are we doing in our heavy students with disability classrooms? Are we paying attention? And I can tell you, she's reacted to some of the feedback that you guys have given myself and her, and reminding what the norms are when people visit classrooms, and making sure that folks fully understand what's supposed to go on in those classrooms, who's supposed to be talked to, who's not. When's it just appropriate to not say a darn word, So I get it, and there's some adjustments that they're continuing to make. So I just want to tell you, I went based on you guys' feedback and experience to myself because I wanted to see what was going on.
Okay. The fact that they were volunteered doesn't necessarily tell the whole story either. So basically, bottom line, what does they can go back and tell teachers that we can do for them? So how do I sell this? What do I tell them?
What I don't know what you're selling, but if you're trying to package up something and sell it to your people, I can't help you with that. I'm not a salesman. That's why I'm in education, right?
Well, we don't have a contract.
So how are we gonna-
What I'm telling you is,
So how are we going to make this work?
let
me rephrase that. How are we going to make this work?
What I can tell you is we can continue to budget as a district in a way to try and find some reoccurring revenues to support some reoccurring expenditures and be able to provide raises moving forward. But I don't have that right now, so I don't know what to tell you from a compensation standpoint.
Okay.
We can, I've looked at things where we've talked about, something like how sub-coverage is provided at the elementary school. But a lot of times, then when I go back and look at the sub-fill rates for elementary schools, there's only a few, and most of them are in high poverty or DA situations that have trouble getting the subs. So we can get subs for those teachers, but a lot of times the people that are volunteering to split classes is because it's their choice. We can provide them with a sub, but they don't want that situation to be that way. And we talked about, okay, even if you were to split what it costs for a sub across, and give it to that person, but then it's split 3 ways, and how do you determine one of them got 2 kids? So at the end of the day, we've talked about making sure that, principals understand some type of reward or incentive will be provided at the school base, maybe not monetarily, but provided to them in release time or however they want to organize it in our school. And I've got language that speaks to that. It'll be handled at the schools. I can't say that I can hand you a boatload of valuable stuff right now. And all we can do as a district is be, and as a board and the superintendent, is be honest with you guys. And sometimes honesty hurts, and that's where we're at. But we can't cheapen what we're doing for our kids every day or restrict and tie our hands around the educational service we're providing to our kids just because we can't provide compensation.
Well, I think there has to be, a mutual respect across the aisles, because when we go to the school board meeting, and it's going out county-wide, and the superintendent says the union is saying we're hiding money. No union is saying that. Nobody's saying the union is hiding money. That's not how we operate. And I've been doing this for a long time.
Here's the thing, at heart, I'm a teacher. Right now, it's not my assigned position. And people, when they talk to me, they recognize that I'm a teacher, and they talk to me like I'm a teacher, and they've shared directly with me the things that you guys have said and documented. That said exactly that. Because you're right, I don't think what they told me that you guys sent out was the word stashed money, not necessarily hidden. And I don't know whose words those were, but I think what you're saying is false.
Well, we have done it a long time, and we have found money. I mean, there have been years where we've had to find $25 per step and all that crazy stuff. So, I mean, we have had Dave Brazier come in from Tallahassee. I mean, we've got a record of being able to, find it if it's there. But nobody on our team that I know of, and I will apologize if you think someone is saying that anywhere in this room, because I don't think so. And then, I know the last school board meeting, which I was not even present, but it was horrible. And that is,
I didn't go with that.
we have to have respect. And teachers are killing themselves. My mother was a teacher for I don't know how many years. I've been in this field for my whole career. And the thing about it is, I have never seen teachers treated with such disrespect. Disrespect just because we have so much to do. I mean, I used to go to school every day and it was like, woohoo, this is so much fun. Now, I'm like buried alive in paperwork. What do I have to do? Oh, how many forms do I have to fill out today? Well, the lesson plans are due. Everything is due, and it's just, it can be overwhelming. And I am an experienced teacher, so I'm going to handle it better than the young people. And that's why they're making a beeline for the door.
I agree. It's more difficult to be a teacher today than it was yesterday or any other day before. And
Yes.
it'll be more difficult
And it's
tomorrow.
going to keep getting
I
harder
agree.
unless we do something about it.
So how are we gonna
I
make
agree.
this work?
How are we gonna make what work?
Because if you don't
This
get
contract,
money,
the
you've got to do
contract.
something so the teachers will vote for the contract, so we don't lose our MOUs, so we don't lose everything that we've already done.
Okay,
We can
I have the,
we can sign off on TA where it's at and where it stands right now.
I object to the fact that you just brought up that you heard someone say that someone said, we said, or somebody said, money was being stashed, but yet you questioned her survey. And to me, it's the same thing. And I am trying to be so neutral today, you would not believe it. I've held my tongue so many times, and I've heard what you've said. I was a teacher that I felt was very respected. I wanted my principal there because guess what? They knew I was good, and I'd probably be getting a few kudos at the end of the meeting. But I'm also, like, I don't remember even at the beginning of all of this, I thought I remembered hearing that when the first budget came out, you did not even budget anything for teachers' increases. Like, I find that telling. It's almost like, forget them again. I don't know, there's so much, but like I said, the thing that really ticked me off was a minute ago when you said, somebody here said something about
I'll clear
stashing.
that up for you right now, okay?
Okay.
And all your members are watching. And what I was told was that you guys distributed a document that inferred we were stashing money. Is that true or is that not true?
Inferred or stated?
I don't know, because what did you guys say in a document we were stashing money and send it out?
No, I said you're 6 months into your budget, so now you know where there's extra money.
So people that have seen that document, I haven't seen it. You'll have to go back and reconcile your feelings with them, because I don't think you're being
So you're
honest
6
right
months
now.
in, you don't have, that's why we asked about year-to-date lapsed salaries. That's why we
I
asked.
thought we were trying to resolve what was happening here, because we're trying to send the right message throughout the district, and that we are trying to be unified. I'm just asking for a simple yes or no, because I feel offended by it also. So yes or no, was it stated?
It was stated that you're 6 months into your budget, and you should know where money has been accumulated.
I think avoidance of an honest response should provide you with the information that you need around what was stated. So what I'm telling you is, and we'll go back to what we, what's that?
Well, wait a minute, I'll go back.
Speak to it, yes or no, did you state in communication that we were stashing money.
No, not that you were stashing money, no.
Okay.
I
And
said
if that's
that.
the case, prove it.
And let's see it, because I
When
got
teachers
I
are
haven't
calling
do
for
is I-
You're
discipline, they have
talking
to
second,
prove it.
third hand information.
Okay, all right.
But I-
Here's my thing, is I don't have to
I'll
prove,
take
because
that
I'm,
apology.
what's that? All I can tell you is the feedback that I've gotten from instructional employees in this district, and more than one, more than two, more than three, and when they state the same thing, I trust your people. So it's up to you, and your people know whether their leader's being honest. So let's move to the budgeting of salaries. No, we didn't budget for salaries up front. And because we're clearly stated for the last couple of years that we're hovering around financial urgency. Financial urgency is if you dip below 3%, the state comes in and they tell you how to spend every dime of your money. So when you're budgeting at the threshold of financial urgency, it looks pretty ridiculous, and it's probably not a sound fiscal practice to budget a 2 to 3% raise in the budget. What you do is you hope you can make cuts and find savings and do some things, which we haven't been able to free up revenue to do that. So whatever you do have left to provide raises, like have come through years. No, this will be the 2 out of the last 3 years that we have not been able to provide, pay performance compensation.
Did you
And I hate
ask
that, but
departments
over
if
the
they could cut?
last 10 years, we're $25 million that we provide in reoccurring salary increases for instructional personnel. So looking at that 3-year window, it's easy to say that. Look at the 10-year window. I wish we could give you $50 million, but we don't have it.
Did you
But
ask
at the
departments?
end of every contract,
Charlene, go ahead.
Did we
No,
ask this?
Departments, yeah, if they
Yes.
could cut their budget.
We actually did.
Or-
We
or-
didn't ask them. We reduced them.
Without asking.
It-
Well,
it-
you had to do.
Because what
This is what you get.
had those budgets grown in the past, they had grown, but we couldn't go by what last year's number was. So we stopped going by last year's number. The process, I don't want to describe exactly what the CFO did. So he can describe that, and I'll bring that feedback back in his words. But basically, I can tell you, somebody that had to come to me with their budget and show me where they could reduce some things, it happened. So going back and looking at those budgets, yeah, we have.
Okay, because that was not indicated in the material that's been shared.
that's good to know. I'm happy to
Okay,
know
well,
that. That's great
I
information.
can tell you, I'm not sure what the amount there is, but for a whole lot of fruit. So that might be why it hasn't been mentioned, but I can tell you.
And we know the first year was very austere budget. But then, since then, it's gone back to spending as normal.
Yeah, but the following year, we were told that we would have we were not going to go drag it out to the end of the school year and get teachers a contract. We were going to do it at the beginning of the school year, and they would have a contract. And that has happened numerous times now. And so teachers are saying, really? I mean, what in the heck's going on? What do y'all do over there? And we invite them to come, but do you see them here? No, one
They're
person.
too tired.
One person here, because you know why they're
Their
buried.
families.
Because they're so buried with work. They can't, 2 people, I'm so sorry. They're so buried in work and all of that, that they can't even take time off. Because they do have families too. I mean, you have another life.
But the other issue though is if this information is right from the registry, you have an increase of 5.5% in students, but yet instructional staff was only 1.7, but yet professional staff was 38. That's a big difference I would assume that your professional and administrative staff is going to also bigger ticket items than.
I think if you look at your professional and you deduct 40-something of your mental health liaisons off of that number, you're pretty much right back where we were. And those are paid out of millage dollars that were from the safety and student mental health referendum. So I think that makes up for your large percentage jump there. And I'd like to go back and provide some further explanation on the rest of the facts on this sheet.
Yeah, the non-instructional, non-bargaining is, I mean, if we look from 2015, that would be almost a 30% increase.
I'll have to look and see, because it's just like, it's, a lot of it's where, what's been added, why it's been added, has it been a result of additional mandates? Just like the teachers have mandates stacked on their heads, we're full of paperwork, the district is hit with those too, from the state and from DOE. So, you know, where there are positions that are paid out of other sources other than general that add those positions to provide more support in the district, those are breakouts that we have to provide. So this data at a high elevation, I don't think is meaningful as it will be with this broken down.
I personally think that it's very sad that we as a group started off last year, or the year before that, I guess, with interest-based bargaining and sitting down and talking and having times that we laughed together and could still talk about things where we didn't agree. And we have now become the sample of that, us versus them, that you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
And
that's a
that's
shame.
terrible, we don't want that.
Well, I can tell you, when the watering hole dries up, the animals act different. So I'm telling you, there's no money, and that's why there's been more tension in the room. So let's just be honest.
But it's not just-
That's where a lot of it
It's not
comes into
just money,
play.
Chad, it's working conditions, it's working conditions, it's really,
But there's working conditions that I'm not really sure, you know, what you're wanting us to improve. I get some of the things you're asking for, but I think they're outside a base of reason.
Okay.
Where we're
Guaranteed
going.
planning time?
What's that?
Guaranteed planning
You
time?
have contracted guaranteed planning time right now.
We're asking for 5 days a week, or 5 a week. So an increase of guaranteed planning. We're asking no evening activities unless they're compensated. We're asking for substitutes so that people don't have to cover classes or absorb students into their existing situations. There's 3 things right there.
If somebody asks for a sub at you guys' school, do they get a sub?
Yeah, we get some of
Okay.
Again, certain schools don't get
Well,
subs,
the only
and
time we
people
would
have
go
trouble.
to coverage is if a sub wasn't available, emergency situations, which is addressed in the contract.
And it's been crazy the last couple of weeks because people really have been out sick.
Yeah, I'll see
Out
spikes
sick
in
home, the
them.
husband sick,
Lot
the
of
children sick. Yeah,
So-
it's been.
And subs
I had
everybody
20
sick.
I
And
had 20 something subs.
Right.
What we had, 15, 16?
I understand that, but a lot of times some of the people, they go, some of the administrators go to the same people and then they get stuck doing it.
10.
And then, you know, and no offense, but it is hard for a teacher to get that compensation, that time off, the comp time. Because, you know, yeah, you may have 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the afternoon. And, you know, the administrator's already going to possibly give them, you know, well, you can go home after lunch on this work day or whatever, you know. So, I mean, it's like, so they really don't get that extra time off for doing all that substituting, especially in, you know, I'm going to say like, you know, splitting up a class or, you know, in a middle school when it's the same person that's out, well, you know, that team has to then
well,
try
there's
to
no
sub
teacher
and try to do
in this
things.
district that can get their work done within the contract hours. You can't get it done. So you've got to take it home on the weekend, you've got to take it home at
I
night,
take mine.
and that's basically what you're doing. And so those are the kind of things that we're talking about. It's just like, it's getting more and more and more.
I think, I believe that. I've been a teacher and taken home work with me. I've been an administrator taking home work with me. I take work home with me every day now. So I get that. I think it's the nature of the system that we're in, and it's unfortunate. And we want to provide proper compensation.
But
I can tell you with part of what we're looking at with our sub issues too is we've got a tremendous, with the weight that is on you guys, it's generated a tremendous amount of absences that generate the need for subs. So that's something that outside away from the table, I'm looking at, okay, how do we assist you guys? Because it's multifaceted. There's a lot of teachers in rough shape due to the pressure that are on them. Guys, here's what.
And there's a difference between taking work home for a teacher who's making 40,000 and an administrator making 100,000.
And there's a difference if you don't know if you're going to have a job next year.
Well, I think there is no difference in that, because
Right.
guess what? Every administrator in this room might not have a job next
That's
year.
right, we are all in the contract.
Well,
And
there
Everybody.
are a lot of teachers.
So
who
then
are
let's
in
compare the
too.
percentages at the end of this
Well,
year
yeah, really.
of how many administrators
Good
are
point.
laid off and how many teachers are laid off.
Well, and I can tell you, that's, it, as far as non-renewed teachers, that's the laid off ones you're referring to. I'm working to have that number reduced. Last year, we had a drastic reduction in the number of non-renewed teachers. 60 non-renewed teachers last year. And it was the lowest since 14-15. And these guys in this room know that the speeches I've given them and the requests I've made of them and the different lens that I'm asking them to look through to retain our teachers. So do I think 60 non-renewals is too many? Yes, I still feel like that's too many.
It is too many.
But I can tell you where it was at in the hundreds in years past, we're not going to go back to those years, not as long as I'm here. And so I agree. That's something that we've got to focus on and get there. Now, the confused look you got is the ones who have left on their own accord. And that's the group we got to figure out, and we've got to keep them.
We've got to come up with a means to.
I agree. And first step though, is where we're shooting ourselves and our own selves in the foot and pushing people out. So we're slowing the brakes down on that, and now it's the leverage. There is no leverage in administration. I mean, that's the thing, I think, why you see not just administrators in this room, but when you get a room full of them, it's almost a laugh to them, because they're not trying to retaliate and run any teachers out of the building. They need every quality teacher they can possibly get their hands on. And the other thing they hear from me is quit stealing from each other. Because they're stealing from each
Yes,
other.
that's an issue too.
So retention numbers and non-renewals, those are things we absolutely have to work on. I know it comes through processes that factor in this room. So I've taken in a lot of what you guys have said today and the data you've provided me. Now I need to go back and formulate response to this. And I can't make promises off of anything, but what I can promise you is that there'll be responses and rationale. And if there's areas where I feel like you guys have gotten incomplete information, I'm going to shore up incomplete information and put accurate information in your hands. Just like you probably don't want my job, so I don't want your job either. When you ask how do you sell this contract, man, I don't think there's
How do we make it work?
I don't feel like there's a big enough bow to put on this contract to sell it. How do we make it work? If I can find some relief that's reasonable, that does not reduce what's being provided to our kids in the classroom, then I'll find flexibility in those areas.
We have to have something to offer teachers to want them to come back. We're already hearing about teachers that are saying, that's it, I've had it.
They continue to keep going.
They need to know all of us are working for them.
I agree.
And that's what your veteran teachers do. They get in there and work with the younger teachers. They do the best that they can do with the extra time. And they're not compensated for it, but they love their school. And that's just what good teachers do.
So what I'd like to do is come back to you guys with information on all the areas that you provided me and anything additional that I think might be of value to you. I've already got a meeting scheduled. Knowing that you guys will bring a healthy bit of information, I've already got a meeting scheduled with the superintendent very beginning of the week next week. so we can discuss everything. And, you know, that's why I can provide you right now. I can tell you, I've got Title I
Yeah.
MOU, and what
I
I
keep
will,
getting asked about Title I
me
MOU.
too. What I would propose to you guys also on the critical shortage, when you go back and look and try to find really strong data that supports critical shortage, right now it doesn't really move strongly outside of what we've done the past few years. There was X amount of dollars budgeted for that to cover the ones who have gotten it and are expecting it. I would say we need to get that out to them and leave the list the same as it is this year with the change names on the 2 self-contains and go ahead and get that out, and we'll continue to look, because I've got some areas next year but I want to be able to provide data behind it. And I know the superintendent has got some areas that critical shortage wise she wants to look into. But as far as what's been budgeted and people that are expecting things, I propose we sign those MOUs today so I can get the money rolling on that. Okay?
So that means the critical shortage and the Title I schools will be given their money once you sign this MOU?
Yes, ma'am, it's gotta be processed, and sometimes stuff goes out in lumps, sometimes it goes out in retro and then spread across checks. So all that, yes, those wheels are gonna begin to turn, and I'll get that money as soon as I can, in those people's checks.
Yes, in the past, it was like they gave them one, well, this was before, but they gave them one like in December or January, and then they gave them another portion of it like in April or May to make sure that they stayed the whole year, in other words.
And I think critical shortage goes like that, so.
Is there a mentoring program in this county for new teachers? Like, do you compensate the teacher, is it a teacher?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you compensate the teacher that's mentoring?
Not a lot, but yes, there is some.
That's part of the breakout and lift. One of the supplements we pulled out of lift was distributed to schools, and it's based on, that was some of the good work we did last year with you guys on ratios of new teachers at the schools. So it's how many you get, which that's a whole nother story. But yes, right now, that's happening.
Maybe you
in a small amount.
could up that a little bit. Maybe you could strengthen that program a little bit. As something to put in a package.
So I'm gonna take back and start grinding on everything you guys have given me immediately. Do you guys wanna set a date so we can get back together?
We've already discussed that.
We did it our last meeting.
What's the question?
My question is, this is all I'm concerned about. March 8th.
As soon as you get used to
You
it.
hate it?
Oh,
dark, I want it to be light.
Oh, in the evening when you get home, yeah.
Yeah,
Because you leave
Best
at
of
dark.
That came from the state.
Right, that has to do with this.
Yeah, they are.
So, yes.
This year.
That becomes a question, yes. So that's the question. Go ahead.
So this is my concern, because this is what I'm hearing, and I said, and this is what gets me panicky. What happens if teachers vote against this contract? What happens to our MOUs? You know, how do I convince them that even though we don't have compensation, that we have to vote for this because it's gonna harm our high schools, it's gonna harm.
I don't believe that's accurate. With a signed MOU, we do include the MOUs in the contract, and they're approved inside the contract, but once we put signature on the MOU, it's effective. That's a legal document that we
But
can
if
move
the
forward.
contract's
It's still
not
the
voted
memorandum
in,
of understanding according to contract,
contract for that
to
year.
that contract for that year.
it's gone,
Yeah.
poof.
So
So that's what I'm concerned about.
it's a question.
It's definitely a question. I'll get your feedback on that.
Thank you, thank you. Are you okay with that?
To my understanding, that if the MOU is signed, it's enacted, And it's an active agreement between the two parties.
Only during the contract year.
But these MOUs are negotiated every contract year anyway.
Right.
So, and especially these because they're required by statute.
Right.
We're required by statute to provide you guys with something.
Okay.
As far as dates go,
Saturday, that sounds like a good time. Great idea.
I got Meemaw's 90th birthday Saturday.
Well, then we'll celebrate with her.
Oh, you could have come to me with my mother's. We had her 92nd.
Yeah, my mom lady, last
Well,
Saturday.
then we'll just have a big party for all of us.
I think that's what we need. Rekindle our spark. I'll be honest with you, I probably need more than a week. So I would say the first week in March, I've got some time. But I'll need next week to put information together.
Well, the Wednesday is the insurance on March 4th.
Okay.
Is our insurance advisory.
This afternoon. Would you guys want to do another Thursday, the 5th?
Oh, wow.
Going strong.
The memory's not so good.
That would be better.
I can't be here with now.
Tuesday the second?
Third.
Tuesday the 2nd.
No,
or
Tuesday's the
the
3rd.
3rd. Tuesday's the 3rd.
Okay.
Because some people said they couldn't be here the 5th.
Tuesday the 3rd?
Tuesday the 3rd is high school, middle school principal. So we won't be done
That's
till
short.
4.
Well, we don't start on 4
You can
now.
skip your meeting.
On a Tuesday, it would be at 4 o'clock anyway.
But we won't finish up till 4, so we have to travel, so it'd probably be like 4:30, 4:45 to get. I think it's at Mount Dora Middle.
But you can
So-
put in a call. There's Tuesday.
Tell them they need to be done by, tell them they need to be done by 3:30. You can do it by,
I don't mess with those meetings. That's not my territory. I know better than that.
What's wrong with Thursday? What's Thursday?
Thursday the 5th.
Yeah, the AP is off, so we gotta make sure we stay on to it and close it out.
They're off, they have a meeting.
Yeah, they do that.
So AP meeting
Yeah.
Tuesday, so principals will
So we're
decide.
going in the morning.
So that is like a day either then, it sounds like, okay?
All 3 of those days, right?
We don't have an long meeting.
All right.
What about Monday the 2nd? It's gonna be,
We got a this workshop.
That's a workshop, but
Yeah.
it's okay with me. I mean, I don't know about
Maybe the
anybody else.
second's fine with me.
Okay.
I mean, I don't.
Does that give you enough time?
Yeah, as long as I've got next week, I'm good.
okay, Monday the 2nd?
Monday the 2nd. Anybody else? No? No?
Going once,
Going
going
once.
twice.
Done!
4 o'clock? Where? March
4 o'clock,
2nd.
LCEA.
There we go.
LCEA.
Maybe we should have it on St. Patrick's Day and really have a party.
So I mean, I'm too early, there's no school property.
Well, that's why we're at LCEA.
That's where LCA is.
You guys good?
We can drink there.
I don't think we get a lot of bargaining done.
Yeah, we would. We'd get a lot.
We might get
We'd get a lot done.
You don't want it on video.
Administrators and teachers must get their film at 11.
Yeah.
On private property, which
I heard. My kids are looking for those leprechauns in the bins. They see them out there every day.